Okay.
Ready?
It appears that it is recording because the only option now is to stop recording. So it appears that
Okay.
it's now being recorded.
Okay. Okay. This is a special meeting for the ECM and the SLA both, but we want to call this meeting to order. And do we feel we have our roll call taken? Or is there anyone who hasn't heard their name on roll call? What you could do if you come in late, you might just say your name and then we'll add you to the roll. Does that sound good with everyone?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Because I don't know why I feel a sense of urgency. I feel like we're short on time. So I don't want to, I just want to go ahead and get it started. And Randy Jones, would you lead us in a blessing for the meeting?
Yes. Dear God, Father, Lord, I just thank you for today, Lord. Just thank you for all you do for us, Lord, and just give us the strength and wisdom, Lord. I pray this meeting would just be wisdom to you, Lord, and maybe we do this in a according manner, Lord. And we just give all praise and glory to you. We just name pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Real quickly, the first thing on the agenda is the FRA money. And Tracy, are you okay if I just turn that over to the SLA? Because you guys have heard what we have to say, and then we'll come back together.
Yes, I disseminated the report that Rob Slatterbeck sent on behalf of Aletha.
Okay.
And so the SLA members have looked at that. And then we also had met together and come up with a plan. And Cynthia Knight and Kevin Statham are going to discuss that right now and talk about how we came up with that, why, and then Grant will be here to let us know what the guidelines are for discussion, I guess.
Okay. Okay, we can just do that. So I'm just going to turn this over to you guys and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess I am up first. My name is Cynthia Knight. I am the Financial Accounting Manager at DRS. And I've been asked to share with you the methodology that the SLA is using, the suggested distribution of the FRRP funds. The calculations are actually based on the guidance that has been provided by the U.S. Department of Education and RSA in response to the anticipated grant to be awarded to the state of Oklahoma to offset the losses of blind vendors that occurred during calendar year 2020 and which were not otherwise compensated. The guidance has been specific to offsetting the losses to the blind vendors. And the methodology of distribution that we use is based on comparing the net proceeds from calendar year 2019 to calendar year 2020. With that, we had 27 LVs in the program over the 2 calendar years. We removed 6 LVs from the calculation that retired from the program. We removed 2 LVs that were inactive or had no facility. We deducted the proceeds of calendar year 2019 from calendar year 2020 to determine if there was a loss. We removed 2 LVs that did not have a loss of net proceeds. The remaining LVs were reviewed for the number of active months they participated in the program during the onset of the pandemic, with March 2020 being month 1 and a total of 10 months possible for 100% participation. The remaining 17 LVs met the requirements to participate in the estimated grant award of $271,955. The initial base amount to the 17 LVs is was $15,997.35. The base of $15,997.35 was multiplied by the LV percentage of participation. The base award exceeded the loss of 6 LV, meaning 6 LV did not have a loss that was $15,997.35. The LV's calculated loss was applied to their distribution, and the funds that exceeded the amount of the loss sustained by the LV was redistributed to the remaining 11 LV up to the amount of their loss. The maximum amount of FRRP funds to any LV is $22,941.61. There are 0 funds remaining, and no funds were used for admin costs or retained for set aside. Now, to find out your individual amounts, please, Charles would be able to, if you contact Charles, he'll be able to share that information with you. Are there any questions on the methodology that we came up with?
No questions.
Too much? Is it what you were thinking? Any discussion?
Will this be emailed out like in writing? It was kind of hard to hear you at certain points, just so we can have it to, look through what you just said.
Sure.
Sure, it absolutely can. It was cutting out to me too, a little bit. Did you guys hear it enough to get the gist of that, to ask questions while everybody's here?
Oh, go ahead.
Tracy, this is Alita, right?
Mhm.
Am I muted or?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we might just want to clarify that the SLA is not charging us a fee for doing this. I don't know if there's anyone on this call that wasn't on the call the last time. Just to clarify that, I think I too had a real hard time hearing what was said.
Yeah,
So-
that's correct. We're not charging any administrative fees, so we're not deducting anything out of the grant award given. So
And
no
we
fees
truly-
and no like we're not putting any into set aside. There's going to be, after it's all distributed to all of you, there's going to be 0 left over in our plan.
Okay, and so basically what you're saying, y'all have sat down and like, it's dispersed. I mean, it's not dispersed, but it's accounted for. It's all planned out for
Absolutely.
each manager. Okay,
Yes.
okay. And we can go to Charles and get that information.
Yes, we plan, the reason for that is because all of your private, business and losses are just that, your own private business. And so
Sure.
we did not want to distribute that here to everybody. That wouldn't be proper. So we will
Okay.
distribute that to each of you individually so that you will see you should each know whether or not you had a loss between 2019 and 2020. But we will distribute that to each of you individually so that you can have that in writing. And then that's the way that the funds will be distributed. But it will come to each of you individually.
Okay.
Okay.
Tracy, Sarah,
Yes.
somebody just entered.
Okay.
I don't know who that was. Can you say who you are, please?
Randy Weaver.
Oh, hi, Randy, SLA.
Hey,
Yes.
hey,
And also, Tracy, I was going to ask, her name is Cynthia, right?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Cynthia.
Okay, Cynthia, I understand up until you said 17 managers and then you dropped to 11 managers, minus and 6.
Mhm.
Can you tell me the difference that again is, what was that
Sure.
adjusted amount? Okay,
6 of the managers did not have a loss that was up to the base amount, meaning like the base amount was $15,997, and 6 of the managers had losses that were less than that. So maybe they had a $5,000 loss or $2,000 loss. So they would only be reimbursed up to the amount of the loss.
okay, so they will get that amount though, the difference.
Yes, up to the amount of the loss, correct.
All right, and
Mhm.
also, so do we have a tentative date that is expected to be distributed?
Well, not at this time. We were coming to this meeting to share what our plans were, and then we were going to go to see if we needed to discuss it, and then we would prepare to submit it to RSA.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, because we have to submit a plan or whatever you would want to call it, a plan for lack of better words. And it has to go to RSA and be approved. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. We have to fill out a form,
Yeah,
submit it to RSA.
Yeah. okay, okay.
This is Rhonda Hudson. Is this all on our primaries, or was our satellite considered in on the losses as well?
This is all up under the licensed vendor, so whatever facility that you have up under your name.
Okay.
So this is Kevin Statham. I'd like to address the timing of the payments. Currently, the funds are available in the budget, so we've done the revision to include the revenue. And so we are targeting to be able to pay those prior to June 30th. But I would say that we have to get RSA approval and then get all the documents in place. So we will make every effort to do it before June 30th.
And you all have to have your paperwork completed with the state too. I know that Tanika and Kim Lore and maybe those two, I don't know, Cynthia, were you helping with that? I'm not sure who all was helping with that. Get their financial paperwork in order. We could pay each of you.
Okay, what do you mean? What paperwork? The W-9?
Yeah.
Yes. Was there anything
Yes.
else or just that, Kevin?
Well, there will be W-9s, but then there will also be, we'll have to have a document in order to issue a purchase order to make these payments. So there will be some kind of a legal document that says this is how much we owe you. And you'll have to sign it and we'll sign it. And then that way we can do the paperwork to cut the warrant.
Okay, and those documents will come out real soon?
Yeah, well,
The
yes.
W-9 you can do by contacting Kim Lore anytime because she's been working on trying to get with all of you to do that for a while now.
Right.
Right.
Yes, she
Yeah.
has. And I asked Tanika to send it out one more time and give people one more chance. But if they don't fill it out, guys, we can't make you fill it out. And so Tanika did, as a favor for me, send it out one more time. And so I hope nobody missed it.
Yeah, we
Because it
absolutely
has
can't pay
out.
anybody without that.
Right. It has
Right.
been sent out like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And as far as the documents that we'll need, a lot of those can run at the same time. So we can go ahead and send the plan off to, the assurance and the use documentation for RSA. We can get that submitted if we're all in agreement with our methodology.
Okay.
And then while we're waiting on approval, then we can go ahead and distribute the documents in order to establish a purchase order. So
Right.
there's nothing that has to wait.
Okay. Very good. So what do you guys think as managers? Jeff Pennick, are you there?
I am
Or
here.
Brown? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, we need to see if we accept this as a group.
And just to clarify, I had a question in the chat to me about the PPP and unemployment. We are not counting that. We're actually not counting anything against the money that's going to come directly to all of you. So if that was a question that any of you
Yeah.
were thinking about, the answer is no, we're not counting it.
Well, I feel like from what I heard of Miss Cynthia, I feel like that you guys have been very fair. But we need to all, as managers, come together and decide: do we want to accept this, or is there something that we feel you guys are missing? Now's our time to keep from holding up the process.
Well, so I might offer this, that Cynthia has a write-up, and we can get that ready to send out.
Okay.
Can we get, I guess, some answer back by the end of the week? If we get this out tomorrow to you, that will be Wednesday, and that'll give you 2 days to look at it.
Could look over it.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll commit to that. So that way we can really read it, because, I think several of us had trouble. Cell phones these days, it's just hard. But yeah, that's a great idea, Kevin. And we'll do that if you can get us that out, and we will get it sent.
Okay.
Sent out. Please send it to Tara Brown and the rest of the ECM board, or Tara can send it to the ECM board. Tara, is that okay?
That's fine.
Yes.
This is Rhonda. I'd like to make a suggestion here. I think it would be a CYA thing. Why don't one of the ECM board members make a motion that the vote will be taken from the ECM board by replying to the email if they approve it or not.
Well, they all need to reply. Just makes it easier. And I'm okay with that. If that's what we want to do, just we'll cut it down to 5 emails versus all the managers. So,
Excuse me, this is Grant Moe, DRS Legal Counsel. Just want to let you know that any votes have to be taken in open session. So you wouldn't be able to vote by email. You'd have to meet in open session under the Open Meeting Act.
Okay.
but we can get the recording and then reply back to you, Grant, and that will be considered okay? Or how would we get you a response by Friday? That's legal.
If you're going to vote on it, then you would either vote today, or you need to schedule a vote, another meeting before Friday. And 48 hours is what you need to call a special meeting, and just 24 hours to post the agenda. So you could schedule a meeting for, well, it'd be Thursday evening, or you could do it Friday morning. But you'd have to get it into the Secretary of State at least 48 hours in advance.
Yes.
Grant, is it possible to vote today and then affirm it with the email by Friday?
I was going to ask that.
So they would vote today
to accept it pending a review and then affirm that vote on Friday?
Yeah, say like with contingents of being able to come back and say, okay, we want to look at something different. Once we get to hear the recording, we'd have the right to come back and say, okay, we've decided we're not good with this.
Well,
And that's we vote today.
And if that won't work, then that's fine, you know.
Yeah,
What about Cynthia just repeating it in maybe sections again, and then seeing if anybody has any questions on pieces of it or something? Could we do it that way?
Fine with me.
My
This is
concern,
Megan. I prefer to have time to digest this. I mean, at least 24 to 48 hours.
and this is Tara, my concern is not what Cynthia read to us, the explanation of funds, but my concern mostly is for the ones who are not included in that. The 21 that's now totally down to 11, with the 6 being, that would get portions of it. I'm thinking there might be issues with that because those managers may not agree.
Well, let me explain just a bit, and Kevin and Cynthia can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a finance person. But this is my understanding of the guidance from RSA. And then this is also my understanding as we went through this process of trying to follow the guidance and be mindful of fairness also, is that a person can only get reimbursed by this funding up to what their losses were. And so we can't divvy the funding up equally. And so we understand that somebody might be upset about the amounts, that somebody might get more than somebody else might get. And I mean, it's all understandable. However, there's not really much we can do about that. The guidance says that you can only be reimbursed up to what your losses were.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Does that make
methodology
sense?
we used was based on your net proceeds. So whatever your net proceeds were in 2019 versus what your net proceeds were in 2020. So the loss that came between those 2 years, that's the basis that we use.
Okay.
And some people have had tremendous loss, and some people have had very little.
Absolutely. And that showed in looking, I mean, we had to have a base somewhere. And so looking at the previous year was the base, and then showing them what the person lost in, over the pandemic. So, some people did have a tremendous loss. And,
right.
The amount that they're going to get back isn't even going to come close to covering that.
Correct.
Right.
This is Joe Tingler. I have a question.
Of course.
Can you
Go
hear me?
ahead, Joe.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Did I hear correctly that when you were considering the proceeds for 2020, that it was only 10 months, meaning it excludes January and February? Or did I hear that wrong?
The base is on the 12-month calendar year. The participation, as far as the percentage, was based on the actual months of the pandemic. But the net proceeds is based on the entire year for 2019 and 2020.
So, are you saying it goes from March of 19?
Right,
to,
from March to December.
Okay,
But only,
of 19.
But only to determine your level of participation. If
Correct.
In those 10 months. I have another clarifying question. Somebody sort of addressed this earlier. I don't remember who. Some of us had or have satellite facilities in addition to our primary facility. And some of us might have only had those for partial years for 2019 and for 2020. Are all the proceeds for those satellite facilities calculated into all this too for both 2019 and 2020, not just our primaries?
Yes, all of them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Alita, is it okay to vote? Go ahead and vote.
Well, This is Randy. So why do we need to vote? I guess because it is what it is.
Well, no, it's not. We need to approve it.
We don't have to accept it, Randy. We need to
We don't have to
approve.
accept it. Okay, if we don't
We
accept
don't.
it, then if we don't accept it, then what?
If we don't accept it, then we just hold ourselves up. We go back to the drawing board with the SLA and say, this is what we'd like to see, you know, and it's just going to hold us up longer. Now, I'm not saying let's get in a rush just to, you know, but I feel I feel that they've worked very hard on this and they're being very fair. But now that's just only my opinion.
Well, I vote we make a motion, or we go ahead and make the motion, and then we can vote. And if you don't agree, just explain why you don't agree in the discussion.
We don't have to
Yeah.
accept it.
Let's do that.
Okay.
But do we want to keep the vote between the 5 board members or all of the ECM, all of the managers that are here?
So this is Kevin Statham again. We've had an issue pop up in the chat box that
Okay.
from Rob Slaughterback about, since the loss does not have to be due to the pandemic, why would you not look at January through December 2020 to calculate the losses? We did. It's the 10-month issue is just to establish the level of participation. So if you were in the program for the 10 months, then you would have 100% participation. If you were only in the program for 6 months, then you would have a 60% participation.
Mhm.
But your losses, you're considering your 12-month of losses for 2019 compared to the 12-month of losses for 2020. So the 10-month is just identifying the level of participation, a multiplier.
Is Rob on here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
All right, guys. So what do we think? We need to, you
It's-
know,
Tara, and I make a motion that we approve guidelines that from RSA that was given to for the state of Oklahoma for the ECM elected to determine the eligibility of the managers percentage wise, and to be given that out is, you know, duration or what the time frame or whatever it is.
okay. Okay, we need a second. Oh. Tracy, did you have something?
I did not.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying
That
to talk.
wasn't me. I'm not sure who that was.
Okay. Okay, we need a second on the motion.
And I think somebody's eating something.
I'm
Can
not sure what
somebody,
that is.
somebody's eating something. Can they mute? Oh, okay, they muted. Go ahead. No second.
Okay. Okay, I second. Okay.
You have to open it
And,
up.
Okay, so
oh, Randy seconded. Either one. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, Randy, are you in favor?
okay, Tara, can you repeat that, the first part of that? Are you saying, I missed the first part, what you were saying.
Okay, and I just made a motion that what Cynthia read from the SLA, that the qualifications for the managers to receive the FRRP funding, that we approved it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll second it. And I approve.
Okay. Okay. Is Matt Jones on here?
Yes, I'm here.
Matt, are you in favor?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
approve.
I'm in favor. Jeff Pinnick, you in favor?
Yes, Jeff. It's Jeff. Yes.
And Tara. Tara is in favor.
Yes.
Yes, Tara?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. So motion so carries.
Aletha,
All in favor?
can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Aletha, you have to
can now.
open it up for discussion.
Okay, we'll open this up. Is there any discussion on this motion?
You already voted on it.
Well, this is when you want to say if there's a problem with it.
Well, if I messed up.
You should have done discussion before the final of the vote.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
discussion, any discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none, everyone was in favor, so we will say that the motion carries.
Okay.
Okay? I did. Everyone okay with that? It's a done deal. So, okay, I know it isn't.
This is legal.
Never mind. Okay, so.
Is there any
SLA
way?
are-
So at this point, then everybody just needs to contact Charles, or will
So
Charles?
you don't really need to. Charles will send that out automatically to each one of you.
Okay, great.
This
Okay,
is Megan Holloway. So will Cynthia still be sending out something though, just to go over this?
Sure.
Yes, I will send out the notes that I have so that you can see the methodology that we came up with. I'll send it to Charles and he'll send it out to you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
yeah. I don't know what happened, but you're clear now, but when you were reading that, it was very hard to understand you. So anyways, we
I'm
got that worked out.
sorry.
Okay, so we got that a done deal, and we appreciate you guys' time and all of that. And I guess we'll move on to the next item. And it is the work orders. And we have some restless natives. Everybody is not happy. David, do you want to address this?
Who's on here?
David Allstat?
Oh, I didn't know he was on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write him down.
Aletha,
Okay.
can I say something? This is Melinda before you get started.
ma'am. Yes.
So I just wanted to reiterate what you and I discussed the other day is because we have a lot of different individuals at DRS that work on these moving parts about the work orders, what we want to do is we are going to sit and listen to what the issues are, and we can ask clarifying questions back and forth or and that sort of thing, but then we will come back to you with our written explanation as to how we're addressing the solutions to these issues. Okay?
Okay. We can do that.
Thank you.
David, do you want to bring it forth, or do you want me to get it started, or you've got
I'm not
the letter?
not really sure. Do you want to just?
Well,
you want
our big concern is we aren't getting anything done hardly, and TBS is telling us one thing, the SLA is telling us another, and we are not happy with the service that we're getting. It's less than poor, and we've got machines out there that need taken to the boneyard, and they're expecting us to still keep using them. And one of the problems is half of the machines they got slots that don't work all over the machine. And then we get griped at when that slot's not got something in it. Or, they send TBS out. We tell him what we think is wrong. And then the next thing you know, he comes out to diagnose the problem. And then he's got to come back again to fix the machines. And we have to be there with him when he comes. And we want our machines fixed, but I'm not saying it's very convenient. He is never on time. He's always late. And I feel like, just my opinion, that if he would get there at a decent time, he could do more than one thing a day. So I know they have their own vending company. So I feel like we will get taken care of when we get taken care of. And that's, just kind of how it is. That may not be true. It just seems that way. He,
Oh,
And I also think he's just overwhelmed. He's way overwhelmed. This is Randy Jones. I think this is a big project for him.
okay.
well,
And if
I understand that, but he needs to hire another machine tech or do whatever he has to do for his end of it. And another thing I don't understand, he tells us he can't get access to equipment. He can't get access to the warehouse. He has to wait for someone to come and let him in. And the other day he came to my place, knocked it all out with 4 coin mags. If he'd have had those on the truck, that's a very common problem. So I don't understand, is he not allowed to stock a few parts to save him a trip back? He says, well, he doesn't even have the contract. He didn't know what was going on, and we invited him to our last meeting. He was a no-show. So we just don't know. We just aren't happy
okay,
about the service that we're getting.
Alita, if I can go next, this is Tara.
Yeah, go
Okay.
Tara.
Just to give you guys some background what's going on, the work order issue is an ongoing problem. We had it before the new tech took over, the new company took over. And a lot of us have work orders from early 2020. So when the new tech took over, he had an abundance of work orders that was from the following year. To give you an example, I'm in Lawton, Oklahoma, and I had 9 work orders. When he finally got me scheduled, he came down coming from Oklahoma City, and he got here. He said he'd be here at 11. He got here at 12:30, and he fixed one of my work orders out of 9, and he had to leave by 3 o'clock to be back in Oklahoma City. And on our end, on the manager's end, we're dealing with these machines that are broken down and they're not working and they're not looking really good to the eye at these locations. And the administration is saying, get them out or get somebody who can keep them running. And so we're in jeopardy of losing our locations, the majority of us. As a secretary of the ECM, I sent out an email to all the managers who are having problems with the machines. And I do have those emails. I sent them to Tanika, but I can send them to whoever needs them. Those emails came from Randy Jones, Matthew, Rhonda Hudson, myself, and Doug Tinkler. And we forward them, and all of us have the same issues. And Megan also had some issues as well with machines being down and not being able to have anybody come out to take a look at them. I did forward them to Tony, which is a new vending company. And he said they weren't true, but he did the same thing with me. He told me that he didn't say that he was coming out on a certain day. I got him mistaken, that I switched up my words. So my only interaction with him is through emails at this time. So we're really asking for help. I did invite him to this meeting right here and no response or no show up. So anybody else?
It just almost seems like, I feel like communication is the key no matter what you do, and we just don't have it.
For action.
He does. This is Matthew Jones. Just to add to whatever Tara said, he does seem to make some promises that he cannot keep. So for instance, I had 9 work orders, and we discussed them, I believe, on a Wednesday, and then discussed them again on a Friday.
And he said, okay, I'm gonna get all this ready and I will call you Monday with the time when I'm gonna see you. So Monday came around, I didn't hear from him. So I figured, well, maybe he's still working on it. 2 months later, I'm not joking, 2 months later, that Monday never came. So that's when I contacted some of my colleagues, and I believe I spoke to Charles just to discuss it. He said, you know, that we've been hearing a lot of these complaints. So I finally emailed Tony and I said, hey, bud, do you still remember me? He's like, oh yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. How's Friday for you? I was like, yeah, that sounds great. What time? And he actually showed up that Friday, again, 2 months later from that Monday that he promised me. That Friday showed up. He was there on time. I had a technician all to myself that day. We drove around from one location to another, and we got 6 out of 9 taken care of. We could have gotten 8 out of 9, but the actual part that he had on him was not the right part. So I'm not gonna blame him on that. But yeah, I got him. Like I said, 9 weeks later, approximately 2 months. But once I got him, he took care of most of my work orders.
And you're located in Oklahoma
And
City.
I'm in Oklahoma City, and the reason we got all 6 out of 9 is most of my locations that we touched that day and fixed that day were all within no longer than 10 minutes apart. So yeah, it was very convenient for the both of us to work on them that same day. So yeah, I'm kind of an isolated, incident here where we got everything taken care of in one day, almost everything.
This is Megan Holloway, and I would like to say a few words regarding this matter. So, one of my biggest work order priority, I wish I could say that it was fixed, but it's still ongoing. And that is at the Ardmore Veterans Center in Ardmore, where they had 40 plus residents die of COVID complications. But we were allowed somewhat access throughout even this past year. I only have 2 drink machines in that building, and one of those drink machines was throwing hot pop or vending hot pop since November of 2020. So they only bought the excuse that I was doing the work order and that it would be gotten to in a timely manner for so long. I received multiple phone calls from the administration on when is this going to be fixed? We're really not happy with this, to the point of calling and being like, okay, you guys either need to fix the machine or you're going to have to get it out. Meaning, I don't know if they meant me or just the machine. Charles told me at this point that he would speak with the lady. But even when I spoke with him regarding the matter, all he knew was that they were waiting on a part. And so I don't know what happened with that conversation with administration, but here we are, April, and he went a week and a half ago to diagnose the problem, which I already told him it was a compressor. And then apparently they had to order the compressor, but he acted like BEP was supposed to order the compressor, but it shouldn't take long because it's coming from Dallas. And that was 2 weeks ago. I emailed him the last 2 days for a follow-up, no reply. So I don't even know if BEP is supposed to be the one that orders the parts. Like, I just don't know who to believe in any of this. Thank you.
And I think based on the emails that that I gathered, a lot of the problems that are basic issues like CoinMax or small issues, he's able to come out and fix with no problem, changing out the bill validators. But when it comes to major issues like what Megan just said, compressor, I personally, that he has the ability to fix it or the want to.
Well, Tara, my problems that weren't fixed were very basic, and he was still were not able. I made it very clear to save him time and effort. I said, this particular machine being in the capital, it is very important that it represents the whole BEP. It has to look good. So it is one of those Merchant 6. So it just needs a light module. He's like, oh yeah, I need to order that. That was 3 months ago.
Wow.
And they said, yeah, I don't have any in stock, so I'm gonna order one. So whenever 2 months later, he showed up to do my work orders, which that was on the top of his list, that light module, just because it's in a very sensitive building. He showed up, he said he doesn't have the light module, he hasn't gotten it yet. That's 3 months later. And again, the other one that was the IRS, Charles is familiar and Tanika is familiar with this building because they got tired of telling me to fix the machine. So they went over me to Tanika. But lucky for me, I have all the documentation showing that I've done everything I could do at that time. So there was no repercussions against me for having a machine down over 2 months. But all it needed is a cup. And I made it very clear. I said, this is a GF9. Okay, a GF9 cup. And I could tell he has no idea what a GF9 is, which surprises me. He could have said, what is that? And then I'd be like, well, it looks like the BevMax, but it's a different cup. So like I said, when he showed up that day, he showed up with the BevMax cup, even though I was very clear that GF9, I told him the word GF9 about 13 times. And yet he went to the warehouse to pick up a cup that same day. And he brought me the BevMax. So as of right now, we are on month 4 at the IRS building with the drink machine, the only drink machine they have in the building that is not working. You think he followed up 2 weeks later after he brought that cup on Friday? You would think Monday he'll be on top of it to bring the right cup. No, this has been 2 weeks. I'm completely on the back burner again. I have to probably call him or harass him and remind him about my light module that was ordered 3.5 months ago, supposedly, and the cup that he brought that was the wrong part. And now I'm not going to mention my 9th work order that I turned in close to 4 months ago now, that he's not going to talk about it because it's in McLeod. And I told him what the problem is and everything. It's a motor and a drink machine. Simple, but the fact that it's out there, and I assume he calculated it's going to be like an hour to drive there, an hour back, an hour to get there. So it's totally out of question. We don't talk about it. And he didn't even mention it that Friday or any other day. So it's like, oh, we're not going to, we're just going to worry about these in town close by. And so that's my experience with that.
Anyone else?
Well, Lisa, this is David Allstead.
Go ahead,
And
David.
I'm just like everybody else. I had the same issues out at FAA. And I guess my question would be to the SLA or Tracy in particular, because I've been in meetings with her. And,
David, I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better.
Okay. I was just saying that I can reiterate some of the circumstances that other managers have, because I have machines down at FAA also that I've turned work orders in 2 or 3 times, and I have one in particular dated back October 1st. But my question is I also had sent in a work order requesting to get like a wiring harness, and I would pick it up and be willing to put it on. And as Aletha has stated, that when we make an assessment on the equipment, why is it that the contractor has to come out and assess the problem? I understand they want to assess and make sure that they're fixing the right issue, but if we've made an assessment on it, like as Matt was saying, he told him it was a motor, why can't they make provisions on bringing some parts instead of coming out, assessing it and saying, okay, well, I have to go back and get the part and then either come back a day or two later or not even come back at all. So I think that is the main issue and the question we're trying to get answered is why are they coming out making an assessment and then just not coming back to the location to repair it within a reasonable amount of time?
So David, this is Kevin Statham. So just a clarifying question there. Can you give me a sense of how many times you all have diagnosed an issue, and when he's come out, that it has been a different issue with a simpler fix or something completely different?
Well, sir, and I can't speak for any of the others, but on my machines that I have diagnosed, like I said, I have sent in the work order. I know at least of twice and three times on some of the machines, and there's been nothing really changed other than I did have one machine, and it was at ground maintenance at FAA, and the first issue I had was that I had a shelf, and this is an older machine, and this also was diagnosed when we had Keith there as our tech, and Keith assessed that the machine needs to be replaced because it's an older style machine, and he didn't have parts to replace it. The shelf itself, the whole shelf didn't work. And it's because when you push the shelf in, it plugs into a strip that runs up and down the back of the machine. It's not like replacing a wiring harness. Well, I dealt with that. I continued to fill the machine except for that one particular shelf. Then the keypad went out on it. I turned another work order in on the machine and also requested replacement. Okay, then it also had a refrigeration unit in it. Then the refrigeration unit went out on it. So I just essentially emptied the machine and asked for replacement. And then I also had asked Mr. Pride if I could take one of the machines that was in one of the other buildings at FAA and move it over to ground maintenance, because ground maintenance was the only facility on base that I knew of that was 24/7. And that I would move the machine because I have the equipment and the truck to move the machine, that I would move it over to ground maintenance and at least give them a food service, some type of food service operation. And he said that he couldn't authorize that move. So I don't know if that meant that Ms. Binder would have to approve that or Ms. Brigham or who, but nevertheless, right now, ground maintenance does not have anything but a can vending machine. So if they want anything, they either have to go to another building on campus to get anything at all. But that's just one of the machines. And then I've got several other old style machines, the Bevmax ones where the bottle comes out, hits the glass, and then drops down to the bottom. I need spacers, I need pushers, I need gliders. When the tech come out from TBS to assess the problem over at the warehouse, all he did, and I'd already turned a work order in on what I needed. I took pictures of the machine, and he came out and got the serial numbers off of it, and then he says, "Okay, well, what's the problem?" And I said, "Sir, you guys didn't see the work order?" I said, "I submitted what the issues was." He said, "No, I just need to know what the problem is." So I proceeded to tell him what the problem was, and I said, "I also have 3 other machines just like this." And he said, "Well, I'm just working on this one work order right now." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. Just never mind about it." Because at that point, I'd already been frustrated because I'd been waiting, and he come out. This gentleman come out I believe it was, I don't remember the particular date, but I believe it was early part of February, maybe in the early part of February. And this problem had been existing since October 1st. But now that's just with me. But like I said, my concern is not for myself, for all managers, is when this contractor, whether it be TBS or we go with another contractor, if they want us to make an assessment on the machine problem, and we do, then I think that that contractor needs to make provisions on bringing parts and being ready to repair the part or repair the machine while they're there with those parts. Now, if they come up with a different diagnose, then that's understandable. But most of us have experience on what is the issue with the machine. Doesn't mean that we're always correct, but it means that for the most part, I would say at least 80, 90% of the time, we can diagnose the machine and know what's wrong with it and know what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that was coming across to me, that you all know your machines and what the problems are and ordinarily how to fix them. So I was just trying to get a sense for, how often it was different than what you thought it was.
Kevin, it's Tara, and I just wanted to tell you also, inside most of the machines, I believe all of them have, but most of them have a 1-800 number, a service number, and you can call that number. And keep in mind, we're doing everything it takes because when that machine is down, we're losing money. So
I get it.
we're calling the 1-800 number, the service number, so they'll tell you what's wrong with it also. And not only that, all the machines, there's a YouTube on all the machines to tell you actually how to fix them even. So, I mean,
YouTube on everything.
Yeah, and my husband's sighted, so he's doing whatever it takes. The only thing is we don't have the parts, of course. And so, yeah, so definitely when it's down, we're losing money. So we're trying to do whatever it takes.
Okay.
And Mr. Staten, if the managers, and I believe most of the managers, if they can do preventive maintenance without us using a contractor, we will do that. But I think right now we're at a time where we can't even get parts, or we're not sure who to get parts from, or we're just at a standstill here to where we're all just frustrated because we're not sure who's doing what the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, basically.
This is Rhonda. One of the things that would help the agency is for Megan and Tara and myself, who live and work in areas farther away from OKC. If we can have extra validators and coin mix on hand, a lot of times we can fix the problem ourselves. But if we don't have them, then again, we're shut down until it's finally decided to get those parts either to us or come out and fix it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. I think, I hope y'all realize we're just trying to come up with the solution. We're not making any money anyways. And now with this happening to so many of us, what product we got in there's going out of date because the machines won't work. And, and there's managers who's been reprimanded because the machines weren't filled. Like I said a while ago, we got empty slots, but the slots don't work. And so we're just, we want to come to a better image in the eye of the public, and we want to work with the SLA, but we want the SLA to work with us, also, and not kind of I don't know any other words but to say that it feels like against us sometimes when we're desperately begging to get things done and we can't seem to get anything done. And so, you know, I don't know. I know there's hardly anyone at the office. And I understand everyone is shorthanded, but now is the time we got to come together. We have to come together. So, and
This is Megan, and I wanted to add one more comment if possible.
Go ahead.
This has been a very stressful, year for everybody. And one of the things that was really disheartening to me is just the fact that, we relay these work orders into the email. We're now down to like 2 consultants, and we talk with them, we submit the work orders, and I just want to hear from somebody at BEP that's like, hey, we hear you, we see you, this is what's going on. It's like it's just going into the outer space. And you don't, all you hear hearsay from everybody, and it looks bad to your employees. It looks bad to your locations, and not to mention the money you got to pay extra for your employees with the work orders in particular, because they got to go and make sure that they're there to let the guy into the machine. So I know for me, I would just like to know that somebody in that office is there and that they care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up, Megan, because speaking of the consultants, I know as far as I know, it's only Charles. And I know one consultant can't do it. It's just so many jobs that have been lost or not, where nobody's available there at the BEP, where, I'm just scared for our program. When I first started in 2003, there was almost 50 managers. And now you're down to 21. And you just worry about the program, if it's even going to exist in another 5 years, if that, So I'm really concerned, like Megan is, and the rest of us, to know where's our program going? Where do you see taking us?
Yeah. It seems like anytime we have a meeting, we hear a whole lot of, we got your back, we're here for you, anything I can do to help, but we don't see action on that. And so it's almost like we hear it a lot, but we can't never show that it's true.
Yeah. Well, this is Kevin again. Yeah, I certainly appreciate hearing all of the information that's been given today on this. We had hoped that switching to an outsourced contract would provide better service on the work orders, and certainly this gives us something to go back and address and look at and see how we can approach it differently. And so I appreciate all the input.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, this is Aletha. Just one more time, I might say, the ECM, we would be willing to sit down and meet with Tony. I almost called him Terry, with Tony, and see what can we do. Let's have some communication. Let's work together. Help us help you. Kind of thing. But there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds like we need a cloning machine for Tony.
Well,
Mr. Statham and Miss.
I know him and I like him just fine. It's not that I dislike him. I don't. But we just aren't satisfied with the work we're getting. And we don't know if he's paid salary or, we're like, what is he even earning his money? We don't know, because it's our money.
Mr. Statham and Ms. Brigham, some of the managers, including myself, have even offered to find, of course, I know a gentleman that would do it on the side, or I say do it, they'd come out and repair it if I paid them directly. And some of the managers have even offered, and of course this is David Allstead, have even offered to have the machines repaired at their own cost, just so they can get out and get their revenue coming back in.
Well, David,
once
let
again,
me just say this. This went out for bid twice.
Yeah.
I understand that it went out for bid. I'm just saying that with the fact that we're having issues on getting this contractor here to repair, if the manager had someone that would do it, and I understand, I've asked, well, can we take it off the report? And I say, no, it can't be in reverse. So some of the managers even offer to pay out of pocket just to get the equipment up and going. And they've run into resistance on that. Now I realize that we're supposed to get written permission to have that done. But once again,
Well, and you guys have to understand too, that as an SLA running this program, we have to be able to control the costs somewhat. We can't just be willy-nilly out there having people repair these machines and not have any kind of cost control. If you say you in Lawton or the FAA are having somebody come over and repair a machine, and then somebody in Tulsa is having somebody come over and repair a machine, and the cost is drastically different. I mean, that's why the state has rules regarding contract and providers. I mean, that's exactly why those rules exist.
Ms. Berger, I'm not talking about submitting the cost to the agency. I'm talking about if the manager just pays out of pocket and absorbs that loss.
Well, I don't know how you guys could possibly do that with what we've heard today about the losses you've incurred.
This is Charles. Also, because David, I know you did call me and I did disapprove that, simply because you become liable of any issues or whatever on that particular machine. The machine may be under warranty. So when somebody else starts working on that machine, they become liable. So I was just trying to prevent that from happening by having an outsider come to look at the machine or fix the machine and you coming out of pocket. So
that's true, and the machines belong to the agency, and so that's a piece of that as well.
Well, I got a question. Right. It's Tara. Were you done, David? David?
Do I?
Oh, you're going. I would just want to say something when you get done, even.
Oh, I was just saying, yes, I understand what Mr. Wright's saying, but in policy, it says that we can do that if we get written permission. And I would not ever ask a separate contractor to come out and start working on a piece of equipment without authorization. I'm just stating that if a manager is willing to take out-of-pocket money to have one repaired and we got written permission, is there an issue there?
This is Rob. In addition, isn't that part of the reason why we are required to maintain liability insurance as managers in case we do something wrong to either the state's equipment or the grantor's equipment or premises?
And they, my statements aren't to be combative. I'm just trying to get some understanding and feel out what options we have if we, if we're continuing to have issues with our contractors, if we can get our equipment up and running so we can be operational and be productive.
And also, is it possible to go to the adjoining state and it adds the SLA? Can the SLA go to a adjoining state? Like, for instance, I am like 40 minutes from Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas. And I know they have service companies all over Texas. And they would actually get here faster than me relying on Tony coming from Oklahoma City. to fix my machine. So I was just wondering, is that possible?
Tara, do you happen to know if those contractors are on state contract with the state of Texas?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
This is Megan, and I also wanted to add a question to, I believe it would be Mrs. Tracy. Something that I was curious about as well, because I understand with, with this whole past year, people on the job market, people can make more money staying at home right now in certain fields. And so one of my questions was, can we not take money from somewhere else within our program to, increase the wage of the technician department? Because in my opinion, why do you need to have budget for new equipment if you can't take care of the equipment you have?
It's actually
Because
more complicated than that, but we did increase the wages whenever I became division administrator. That particular job classification was, there was just one level. And so I worked with Kevin and at the director at the time, and then Melinda, and we got it to 2 levels. So that gave them a raise, actually. But all of that, it's not just an agency decision. That's a statewide decision at a different level, even because it's a job classification. Our state agencies run on a classified system. And so we're not the only ones who have those specific jobs or any specific job necessarily. Take a secretary, for example, as just another example. There are secretaries all over the state. And so whenever one agency wants to give a raise in a specific category, you're required to look at it on a more global level. So you can't, whatever kind of move you make in an agency, it affects other agencies and other positions. So they look at that on a level that's outside of our agency, and we have to get approval that way. So it's not just a decision that we can make like that on our own. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for addressing it. I was just brainstorming, but I appreciate your answer.
If we could have just said, our techs are worth $20 an hour, let's pay them that, we would have done that a very long time ago.
This is Rhonda. The bottom line, as long as we're having these pending repair problems that we have had, actually puts our agency out of compliance with our own BEP policies. And it's a problem that can't be evaluated and assessed after a month or two. It really needs to be acted upon immediately, because, as it's been stated, we could lose locations, our reputations get ruined. But again, this problem puts us against our own policies, and possibly even federal as well.
Are there other
Anyone else?
specific questions that, or comments anybody has for the problems with the work orders?
I see Rob had put a question in the comment box about putting a system in place to mail parts to managers. I'm not issuing any parts without a signature, me personally. However, you can contact me and I can meet you in the office I'm usually there 2 to 3 days a week. And I can issue you the part or parts. And in some cases, I may bring them to you, depending on where you're located, to help with like CoinMex, bill exchanges and stuff like that, harnesses. And some people has come by the shop and picked up some parts, and some hasn't. But that is an option. But as far as mailing, I would need a signature prior to leaving the warehouse.
Charles, this is
Yes,
Matthew
sir.
Jones. May I suggest something that I kind of learned just by fixing my vehicles and stuff? Is it possible when you do that to ask for the core? Because I believe all our techs, whenever they replaced any of the parts, they took the defective parts with them. So, for instance, if I ask for a part X and you bring it to me, and I have to put it on myself, if I can't give you the core right then and there, or the defective part right then and there, I should have, for instance, like 7 business days to bring it back to you guys. That way we ensure that there's no misunderstandings, because a lot of times we might just I might just ask for a part, and when I get it, after diagnosing my machine, I realize, you know what, I was wrong. So what happens to that part? We don't want to fall into the issue where just money is going out the door and we don't know if it's actually going on the machine or not.
Also creates an inventory problem.
Exactly.
Well, actually, it wouldn't, because of the shipping log would actually be the record of transfer.
Well, you need to have something in return.
I know that's standard practice that a lot of other big companies handle their service, that they have service techs spread out all over the country, and that's how they get them parts, is they, FedEx or UPS parts, because then there is a tracking shipping log to show, when it was, the place it left from, who received it, when it was received. So again, I mean, it helps provide the documentation the state needs for tracking purposes, but yet would be a lot cheaper, to be able to spend $20 to mail a part to a manager than to spend $150 for a tech to have to drive out there.
This is Jeffrey. Also, one of the issues that I've come across was selective, whether they want to work on the equipment or not. And also another thing, I've been waiting for sneeze guards for the counters for the snack bar since last March and still haven't received them. Supposedly they're in the warehouse, but how do they get to the location is a whole nother ball game there. So anyway.
Wondering, this Tara again, I was just wondering, is there any way where we could do our own maintenance? I'm just wondering, for the money that we pay out for a TT services or whatever Tony's business is called, for the money of his contract, I'm just curious, if it's 21 of us managers and we ended up getting some kind of $1,000 a month allowance for machine repairs for us to go on our own, I mean, wouldn't that be cheaper than paying somebody out for the contract?
Yes. Does anybody have a record of what we've spent over the last 3 months or 4 months for invoices for TBS?
Yeah, we will have a record, of course. I don't have a record on me.
This is Alita. I just wonder if we would sit down to talk with him and let him know what we expect and him let us know what he expects, if we might come to a better working relationship with him. If he only has one technician for us, let's say so. But let's get our money's worth out of this technician. Let's get some things done. If this is out of Tony's league, if it's too much for him, then I wish he would say so.
I think that's obvious that it's out of his league and he's not going to fess up because it's a lot of money at stake. See him just saying he can't do it because I think he would rather want to try. I'm speaking for him, but
Right.
I'm just saying it just doesn't seem like he can handle this load.
Well, but I mean, just to, somewhat to play somewhat devil's advocate, he somewhat has an incentive to not repair our machines and make our locations look bad if he believes he could potentially come in and take over on the back end.
That's right. And also adding to that, Rob, this Tara again, that when he does call you, he lets you know that he has 5 different businesses. He provides merchandise. So he's able for us to purchase our products through him. He fixes machines. So he has his own service. He provides vending machines. And he has a training service where he'll teach you how to use your machines. He has 5 different companies in one. And he tried to sell us, these companies as well. So I think the SLA needs to understand that he could possibly, I for one just thought he wanted to get our mailing list of the managers. So I was kind of leery of sending it out to him, but I did send it, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, I don't know. I know, we wanted to reach out to him when we had our Saturday meeting, and he didn't even call and say he wasn't coming. He sent an email, said he won't be able to be there. Any of our questions, we could send him an email and he would address it. He don't want to talk to us verbally. He does not.
And with
so I didn't know if we could work on that communication somehow, because it is not there.
I think lack of communication is communication.
Yeah, and after Letha, after the meeting, after the Saturday meeting on Monday, he responded with a phone call to me and told me that he got my email after 5 o'clock on Wednesday when I sent it out to him. So, and he said he just got back in the office that Monday, so he didn't see it Thursday, Friday.
I'll just say I beg to differ because I've verbally spoken with him and invited him over the phone. So the email wasn't the issue. I verbally spoke with him.
This is Megan. I also confirmed the meeting with him on Wednesday of that week or Tuesday.
Yeah.
This is Randy. He told me he was sick Saturday.
Okay, so can we get back to the specific issues on the work orders?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is almost, it's 6:25 and we probably need to be wrapping this up if we don't have any other additional things to add.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Brigham, do you have any? Ms. Brigham, do you have any recommendations, or anyone from the SLA have any recommendations on how we can start resolving this?
Well, this is Melinda Front. This is Melinda
go ahead.
Front. I would like to reiterate what I indicated when we first started this discussion, that we're here to listen and ask clarifying questions. All of us have been taking notes and asking the clarifying questions. We're going to come back internally and we're going to do a deeper dive into some of these issues and talk to the gentleman, Tony, on contract, and we will respond to you in writing.
Okay. Okay. Do you kind of have a time frame on that, or?
I do not, because we've got several, we don't quite know when we're going to have a meeting with the gentleman on contract, and I don't have anything to offer on that right now.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I for one would like to appreciate you for your time, for listening to us.
Yes, we appreciate getting to express our opinions and feel like we're being heard. But and I know it is after hours, for all of us, and so we do appreciate all of you for being here. Is there any other comments? Final call.
No, just thanks to the SLA for listening, and we hope we can get this resolved expediently. I know it didn't occur overnight, and I know we're not going to get resolved overnight, but I hope we can resolve it expediently.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Mr. Jeffrey, I make the motion that we adjourn.
All the managers and the SLA. Jeff made a motion to adjourn. Anyone second it?
Second.
2 or 3 people did.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and to the SLA for the federal relief funds, all the work you put into it. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Adjourn.
coming.
Goodbye.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.